Hello boys and girls, my name is Lieutenant Mike Leeser with the Bethlehem Police Department with the Mounted Patrol Unit. Thank you for joining us virtually here today, where we thought it would be a great opportunity for you to kind of tour our barn. So welcome to Quadra Private Well Stables, home of the Bethlehem Mounted Police. Today you're going to see the horses virtually, you're going to learn a little bit about the Mounted Unit, about our history, and then we'll be able to read a book for you today and give you a little opportunity to learn a little bit more about our program and to get a first-hand up-close view of the horses. Boys and girls, the Mounted Unit started up in 2009. Maybe some of you weren't even born yet before 2009, but the Mounted Unit started up in 2009. We started with 3 horses and 3 full-time riders. The original horses were Raven, Pharaoh, and George. We started up in 2009 and we were at Burnside Plantation. The city of Bethlehem realized that they needed police on horseback to be more visible downtown. Some of you might have seen the horses in your schools, in your neighborhoods, maybe at a festival you went to with mom and dad. So the Mounted Unit was started up to be a good visual component of law enforcement. And we're more approachable. So probably a lot of you have come up and petted the horses throughout your time with us. So the Mounted Unit started up in 2009, and we've been in existence ever since. Now, 2017, we started our Mounted Patrol Unit here at our new home, the Quadra Private Well Stables, which is the home of the Bethlehem Mounted Police. So today we're going to do a little tour of our barn and talk about our horses and kind of explain to you what we do here at the barn. Boys and girls, our first book is Robert the Rose Horse by Dr. Seuss. Some of you might have already read this book, or maybe had it read to you by somebody that loves you, so let's get right to it. Robert the Rose Horse. Robert was a happy little horse. He lived on a farm. Hey, we're on a farm. This is George's farm. He lived with his mother and father. One day, Robert had a party. It was his birthday party. All of his farm friends came to the party. If you guys have birthdays, do you have your friends go to a party? Your party? They had a big cake. "Happy birthday, Robert," said all of his friends. "Happy birthday to you." Look at that. All of his friends have birthday hats on and balloons. And he has his cake all ready to eat. The cake was very pretty. It had big red roses all around it. Robert liked those red roses. He put his nose right into one and took a big sniff. Then Robert got a funny feeling. His eyes began to itch. His nose began to itch. And then, kerchoo! Robert sneezed. What a sneeze. Up went his farm's friends, up went the cake, up went the roses, and Robert fell down flat on the floor. His mother called the doctor. The doctor looked at Robert. Do you guys ever have to go to the doctor? Yeah. Sometimes the doctor could be scary, but he's actually there to help you. "Say ah," said the doctor. "Ah," said Robert. "Ah," said the doctor. "I know what made him sneeze," said the doctor. "I know I'm right," said the doctor. "You will see here, Robert. Take a little sniff." Robert put his nose into those roses and he took a little sniff. Again, his nose began to itch. His eyes began to itch. Kerchoo! Went Robert. Bang went the window. Bang went the door. Up went the roses, and the doctor fell down flat on the floor. See, look at that picture. He knocked him right down onto his back. "I was right," said the doctor. "Roses are very bad for you. There are too many roses on this farm. You must get away from them. You must go to the city." So Robert had to go. "Goodbye," he said to all his friends, to his mother and father. "I will be all right in the city. I will find work. I will find a job," he said. Robert did find a job in the city. He went to work for a milkman. He took the milkman and his wagon all around the city. It was a good job, and Robert was happy. Robert liked that kind of a job. Then one day, a man walked right next to Robert. The man had a flower in his coat. The flower in his coat was a rose. A rose, and right under his nose. Robert got that funny feeling again. His nose began to itch. His eyes began to itch. And kerchoo! Said Robert. Crash went the wagon. Splash went the milk. Up went the milkman. And the man with the rose fell down flat. "Go away," the milkman told Robert. "You cannot work for me anymore." So Robert began to look for work again, but it was hard for a horse to find a job. He looked for many, many days. One day he saw some horses. They had people on them. "Say, I could do work like that," said Robert. "I will ask for a job." Robert went to the door. A man came out. "You look like a good horse," the man told Robert. "You can work for me, but you will have to work hard. You will have to do everything you were told." So Robert went right to work. He did just as he was told. And when he was told to go slow, he went slow. When he was told to go fast, he went fast. Robert did everything he was told. "I like this work," Robert said, "and I am going to keep this job." Then one day, he took a woman for a ride, and everything was going well, but all at once, "Look," the woman said, "look at those pretty roses. I want those roses. Robert, take me over there at once." What could Robert do? He had to do as he was told. So he took the woman to the roses. Again, he got that funny feeling. His nose began to itch. His eyes began to itch. And kerchoo! Went Robert. Away went the wagon. Away went the flowers. Up went the woman. And the flower man fell down flat. Once more, Robert was out of a job. Robert had to look for work again. He looked and looked. Fathers had work, mothers had work, everyone had some kind of work. But there were not too many jobs for horses. Robert walked and walked. He looked and looked. And then, at last, Robert saw something. What do you think he saw? He saw a job that he could do. He could be a police horse, he said. So Robert's going to want to be a police horse, and we have a police horse right here. "I will go in and I will ask for the job," he said. And look at the picture, boys and girls. There's a picture of a horse, and it says, "Join now, be a police horse." When Robert came out, he was a police horse. He was a good police horse. He did all kinds of police work. Look, he's crossing a kid there, and he's stopping traffic for a family of cats. One day, Robert worked on Bank Street. Some men came down the street. There was 3 men. One of them had a black bag, and they went into the bank. Robert did not see them. Then all at once, someone called out, "Help, please, help!" Robert looked around and he saw 3 men. They were robbers. They were bank robbers. The robbers ran right at Robert. They ran right over him, and away they went. Robert got up fast. He had to stop those robbers, but how could he do it? And then Robert saw a rose. It was not a big rose, but it was a rose. Robert began to think. He began to think fast. Robert went over to the rose. He put the nose right in his nose. He took a sniff, a big, big sniff. And he began to get that old funny feeling. His eyes began to itch. His nose began to itch. And then, kerchoo! Robert sneezed. Never was there a sneeze like it. Away went the cats, away went the hats. Up went the dog, down came the birds. Bang went the guns. Up went the black bag, and the robbers fell down flat. Look at them all. "Hooray, hooray for Robert," everyone yelled. The bank man was happy. The policemen were happy. Everyone was happy. Robert had stopped the robbers, and he had sneezed the robbers flat. And look, the police have all the bad guys getting in the police car there. Robert saved the day, it seems. The next day there was a party. It was for Robert. His mother and father came. His farm friends came. The doctor came. All the policemen came too. Then one of them got up. "Robert," he said, "I have something for you." "Roses," yelled the doctor. "Hold on to your hats. Here comes the sneeze. Robert will sneeze us all to Chicago." Robert took a little sniff. His nose did not itch. His eyes did not itch. Then Robert took a big, big sniff. He did not get the funny feeling. That big kerchoo had not done it. Robert at least was all sneezed out, and roses never made Robert sneeze again. The end. Thanks for taking the time to read the book with me. We want to thank George for listening in as well. Hello boys and girls, welcome to the inside of the barn. This is where the horses stay at times. This is where we get them ready for patrol. And today I'm joined by George. George is a mounted police horse. You might recognize the name George. He's been with us since 2010. George is 16 years old. So some of you might have brothers or sisters that might be 16 years old. But George is a Percheron Morgan horse. He's a boy horse. And he comes to us from Canada. He actually pulled the carriage in Canada when he was younger. But now his job was being a police officer. Actually, George is now retired, so George doesn't go out of the barn as much as before. But George is our herd boss. A herd boss means that he tells all the other horses what to do. Just like at home, mom and dad help you out, or somebody that loves you tells you kind of what they need you to help them with or do. That's what George's job is here. So George is our herd boss. Boys and girls, I also want to talk about the mounted unit and the fact of our great community support we have. We go to all the schools and businesses, and the whole community really embraces and wants to be a part of our mounted patrol unit. We're very fortunate in the city to have a mounted unit to be goodwill ambassadors for the residents here. And for instance, George and all of our horses are sponsored by community members that see a need to have the horses in the community. And George is sponsored by Maria Rodale. Maria Rodale has been sponsoring George ever since we got him back in 2010. Let's go meet some of the rest of the other horses and we'll talk a little bit about each one. Boys and girls, welcome to one of the horses' bedrooms, or we call them stalls. This is Asa. Asa's in his stall. Asa's 10 years old. He comes to us from Asbury University. He's a Percheron thoroughbred cross. Asa is our quiet professional. He's always around. We call him our quiet professional. He was purchased and sponsored by Lehigh University, hence the name Asa for Asa Packer. So we're going to grab him, get him out, and we're going to show you, boys and girls, a little bit on how we wash the horses. So I'm going to go in and go get him right now. So boys and girls, every day when we go out on patrol, the horses get washed. So we bathe them in our wash stall here. As you can see, they can get very, very dirty being out in the paddock. Every night the horses are out in the fields, running around, playing. Horses don't watch TV, they don't play video games. Their video game is running around on a big grass field. So every day we bathe the horses. So I'll just give you a quick glimpse of that. This looks a little bit different than when mom and dad maybe give you a bath. But we simply just use a garden hose and rinse them off and then soak them up. Asa is our heaviest horse. Like I said, he's 10 years old and he's a boy. So we rinse him off. And after we get them all wet, then we put soap on. Just like mom or dad might soap up your hair in the tub or the shower, we do the same thing with the horses. So we always soak them up. Get it in their hair, get all the dirt and grime out. And then, what do you think we do after we soak them up? We rinse them off. Do you think we put a wash rag over his eyes to rinse out his hair? No, he doesn't need a wash rag. We soak him off and we get all the soap out of his hair. And once we get all the soap out of his hair, then we let him dry out. He gets nice and dry. We comb his hair. We get him all shiny and ready for patrol, and then we put his saddle and equipment on. and then we go downtown and ride maybe in your neighborhood. Boys and girls, the next horse I'm going to get out is Pharaoh. Pharaoh's in his stall, and some people ask us, do they stay inside the barn all night? No, they don't. They're outside all night long. They're very rarely in their stalls. They're only in their stalls to eat or to get out of the bad weather. So let me get Pharaoh here. He's ready to come out. Boys and girls, Pharaoh is the old man of the bunch. He's 18 years old. Again, I don't know if any of you are 18, but you might have brothers or sisters that are 18. Pharaoh is their old man of the bunch. He's sponsored by Just Born, and he's our gentle giant for the most part, but he is also our instigator. He always likes to get everybody riled up at times, and he's an accomplished power napper. You might see him constantly sleeping on the road. He likes to take naps, and he always fakes exhaustion for pity. So let me clip Pharaoh off here. Pharaoh has been with the mounted unit since we started. Pharaoh's current partner is Officer Al Strydeski. And I failed to mention too about Ace's partner is Officer Justin Madera. So each horse has their own specific rider that's assigned to them, and that rider constantly rides almost the same horse every day because you get to know the horse and the rider. Just like you might know certain dogs or certain cats that you have, certain cats or dogs get to know you differently, same thing with the horses. So each rider is paired with a horse. So this is Pharaoh. Boys and girls, some other things that people ask us about is how do you take care of the horses? Well, we have a volunteer program made of people that live here in Bethlehem that help us take care. They clean up their waste, they help us with their stalls, they help clean out their stalls. Each stall has their own hay feeder, their own place that they get water. They even all have their own fans, so when it's really, really hot out, it cools them off and keeps the bugs off of them. So our next horse is Gray. I'm going to go get Gray out of the stall here, and we'll introduce Gray to you. All right, we have Gray. Why do you think he's called Gray? Actually, Moravian College, their equestrian team, purchased Gray. So they named him Gray for the Greyhounds. So Gray is also 10. He also came to us from a training group in Asbury University in Wilmore, Kentucky. Gray is also sponsored by Moravian College. Gray's 10 years old. He's our herd lookout. So if you come to the barn, boys or girls, or you're at an event and you see him, he's our herd lookout. Actually, he's such a lookout, he actually damaged his halter, so we had to give him this replacement one that doesn't really fit him. But he's our herd lookout. He's always looking around, making sure where all the other horses are. So Gray's rider is Officer Mark Kunzman. Officer Kunzman and Gray have been partnered up, and this is Gray. All right, as you can see, we're in what's called our center aisle. And you can see we can line 5 horses up down through here. So when we're getting ready for an event like Music Fest or Patrol Out on the Road, all 5 horses are getting cleaned, tacked, and getting ready for their day of work. Actually, somebody wants us to introduce him. He keeps kicking at his stall door. Our last horse is named Casper. So I'm going to go in and get Casper out, and we'll tell you a little bit about Casper. Is Casper. Casper was purchased by Kathy and Joe Perno in honor of their daughter Allison Nicole Perno, who tragically passed away a few years back. Casper is named after Casper the Friendly Ghost. Casper is our youngest horse. How old do you think he might be? He's actually 4 years old. So I bet you some of you are 4 years old. So Casper's 4 years old. He's our newest horse. He's been with us for about a year. He's a thoroughbred Clydesdale cross, and he's sponsored by the Biggs Group, and he is our youngest, but he's also one of our bravest horses. So it doesn't matter how old you are, he's still doing outstanding for us. So these are all of our horses. Thank you for visiting us in our aisle. So we talked a little bit about our barn. We talked about and introduced all of our horses. After we feed the horses and bathe the horses, we put all of their tack and equipment on. So George has some of our equipment on. We have the breast collar, we have the saddle pad, we have the saddle and the girth. All of these things we put on the horse to make it more comfortable for the rider and more comfortable for the horse. And this is where we keep all of our equipment when we're out on the road doing our police job. So they even get special halters and the special rosettes that show that there are police horses in the city of Bethlehem. Well, thanks for taking the time with me today. Thank you for learning a little bit about Robert, the rose horse, and his allergies to roses, and then he got over his allergies. And thank you for taking the time to meet all of our horses here at our barn. I have great news for you and your mom and dad or somebody that loves you. September 11th, it's a Saturday this year, we're going to have a Bridles and Badges event, and you can come to our grounds here and see the horses firsthand. We're actually going to be out in our training arena, the Platt and Sandy Kapora Riding Arena, and we're going to do a demonstration for anybody that wants to come on how we actually train the horses and introduce all the horses so you can meet them firsthand. There's going to be lots of activities and food and different things. And check it out on social media. We're on Facebook at BethlehemMountedPolice.com as well on all the information on what you know and learn even more about the Bethlehem Mounted Police. I also want to talk too about the grounds here. You're always welcome to come and walk around the outside of the pastures if you want to come. We don't let people into the barn because this is the horse's home, but we do allow people to come and walk all around the property. So feel free to come down, say hi to the horses, and we hope to see you next time. Thank you.